Hi guys, this is your girl Drea from Brown Girl from Boston. And as you can tell by the title, I am finally getting my fibroids removed after suffering for 2 years with heavy periods, lots of bleeding, becoming anemic, taking iron medicine, having hypothyroidism, and a lot of cramping, a lot of not so cool things. So as you guys may know, I usually talk about business, I talk about personal development, all type of things, but I really don't get into much detail about my own personal journey when it's coming to health and wellness. So I have been healthy and I have been active since the age of 4, doing ballet, jazz, and tap, from playing basketball to running track, playing volleyball, from 4 years old all the way up into my 30s. So within the recent years, um, since living in Rhode Island, you guys may have, looked at my Being Black in Rhode Island videos and other videos. I have been under tremendous amount of stress, a lot of life transitions, a lot of life changes have occurred within the years of my time. But we'll get into the fibroids, and because during that period of time, I was on birth control. So usually when you're on birth control, they pretty much, your periods are shorter. You don't deal with a lot of symptoms from your PMS. So you don't know what's going on. And plus two, these birth control pills or the ring or Depo, which I don't advise anyone unless you have to take it, or what's the other one, like Mirena and stuff. They really throw your periods for a loop, and even throw your cycle and your hormones. They go up and down. So that's why you should talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health guru. I'm just a general person, actually a life coach and a licensed clinical social worker, just, telling my story. Um, so going back to what I was saying, so being on birth control for a few years, going through that, you don't know what's going on the inside, and then you have weight gain, and then you have your hormones, and once you get off of them, like, you have all type of issues. Well, I know I did. And plus working in a toxic environment, which I was working in a toxic environment at the time, and I was dealing with racism, sexism, being a Black woman, in the workplace, dealing with that, internalizing that. I wouldn't say my diet during that time was not bad per se, because at the time I was pretty much getting off of fast foods. I haven't ate fast food in like about 4 or 5 years. I would say since like my first year of marriage. So when you deal with toxic environments, inhaling toxic products, dealing with toxic people, any type of negativity, bad diet, not working out. And mind you, I was working out at that time too, about 5 days a week, some 2 days with a personal trainer, going to Zumba, doing different things. And I still was sick. I wasn't feeling better. Had so many doctors looking at me with the side eye like, you kind of cray because you keep coming in here complaining about these symptoms. So the first symptoms I was complaining about, I was losing my hair, and I wore this big, huge fro, dry skin, all type of symptoms, weight gain. Because when I moved to Rhode Island, flat stomach, I always been very tall, long legs. I always had the booty and the boobs, but never had a stomach. So I started noticing my stomach was getting larger and larger and larger, and I gained like 30 pounds. And you think, oh, well, I'm a newlywed, I'm married, I'm happy, I'm in love with eating, with doing all these cool things. But I was still gaining 30 pounds. Unexplained weight gain. So when you have that ding, you go from like 135, which I was, to like 165. There's some questions that need to be answered, and when your health is, and when your diet is on point, you're like, okay, what's going on? So going through so many doctors, finding so many doctors because of having been undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And I finally got an answer of being hypothyroid. So when you're hypothyroid, that's when you gain weight, unexplained weight, you're lethargic, you go through depression, you go through fatigue, your hormones are out of whack, right? You're just like not a nice person. You go to the gym, you go work out, you do all these like watch your diet, your caloric intake is probably like at 1250, but you still not seeing the results. Your hair's falling out. Um, let's see what was happening to me. I had hair fall out. Your skin is always dry. You're always cold. I'm always cold. It doesn't matter if I have 10 heated blankets on and they up to the maximum capacity. I'm always cold. So that was hypothyroid. And after doing a research, you go on WebMD and you're like self-diagnosing yourself and you're like, oh man, I think I have that. And every time when I came to the conclusion, it was always the same thing. When I went to I went to a naturopathic doctor and he diagnosed with fibroids and vitamin D deficient. So I really changed my diet up. All my life I always say I was a flexitarian. Like I go between, I can eat vegetarian meals and I can eat, meat far as with, let's say, like chicken or fish. So I really tightened up my diet to the point like I became like a vegetarian during the time when I had got diagnosed, and I really, looked into like Queen Afua and other holistic care practices who are African American who dealt with, fibroids or, Black women's reproductive health. Because a lot of times when you go into these facilities, as a Black woman, you're not getting the equivalent care per se as another, woman, whether it's a white woman, whether it's an Asian woman or whoever. They like to think of us as an experiment. So I wasn't trying to have that. I had to always advocate for myself. That's why I fired so many doctors. I hired so many doctors, and I wasn't selling for one answer. So that was for my hypothyroid. So once I had got that under control and I got on my medication, that's when I went to go see a specialist in regards to my endocrinologist. I found one and he was an a-hole. Because when I was on my medication, my husband used to come with me to my appointments. So one time he didn't come and I was complaining. I thought my medication was triggering my periods. At this time, I wasn't on birth control anymore. I had got off because I was like, I'm gonna do things the natural way. I was only taking Synthroid. Also too, this was like probably year one when I was getting very heavy periods. It was like around Thanksgiving time 2 years ago. I was coming from my mother-in-law's house and my husband literally had to pull over because my periods, I don't have kids, but if that's what childbirth felt like the pressure near my vagina and near my like anus to the point I'm doubling over and the blood was just flowing down. I never experienced anything like that. And my mom, and I was telling my mom, she's like, yeah, that sounds like childbirth. And I was like, oh my God. So looking up the symptoms and I'm like, I think I have fibroids. My gynecologist was a Black guy and I went to him. He like did, what they call those, an ultrasound, didn't work out. So I'm still suffering with, pain, heavy periods, bleeding. And I went to my endocrinologist and he's like, oh, well, that's normal for women. That's not normal to be hemorrhaging every month and you have to schedule your life. And thank God that I own my own business. Because if I had to like take off days from work, I probably would have been fired. So he even said to his wife who was in the office, like, her periods are heavy every month. Ask my wife. And I was like, me and your wife are totally different. And she has an issue. So dealing with these fibroids has been like a 2-year journey. And I had to do a lot of hiring and firing. Then I finally went to my Black gynecologist, retired. Then they assigned me to someone else. I have to give him a little bit of credit because I went and I asked him 50 million questions. and he took blood screenings, and he's like, you're anemic, your blood level, it was so low to the point they thought they had to do blood transfusion, and I don't take blood due to religious purposes. But at the same time, I was like, you can give me another option. He didn't find me another option. So I was like, give me some iron supplements, and which he did. And so I ended up taking them. And then I found SSS tonic. I should have put that in here. I'll put that the description. So that helped. And what you call it, I'm going to show it. So I took SSS tonic along with my iron supplements. That helped. When I went to the gym one time before I took any of that stuff, I could not even do a full cycle on the treadmill. I never had that happen at the time I was 33, in my 33 years of life. Like, I used to be getting it. And when I was like lightheaded, I was like, okay, this is a problem. So my gynecologist in Providence was like, well, I'm not going to touch you, pretty much like I was a liability. So this was in November, and I was not going to be suffering like another year of fibroids. So what happened was my husband went online, and he's in and out, so excuse me. He went online and did some research and found the fibroid study at Mass General Hospital. Now, my husband and I were both from Boston, so I had no problem. So, like whenever I have these issues, I have like the meeting with the members of the village, which is my mom and stepdad, my husband, and my mom was like, well, why don't you go to Mass General? Because my dad, he worked at Mass General. He retired from there, and it's such a reputable place. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to make an appointment. So I made an appointment with Mass General and with Dr. Douglas Brown, which is like a godsend. And they took me in like this, and I was nervous at first. I'm like, oh God, here goes another doctor. Here goes another gynecologist. So I looked him up. I researched like all his credentials. His success rate is like 99.9%. And when I went there for a consultation, I brought my husband, and it went great. But in the meantime, let me tell you, when you have fibroids, and I have submucosal fibroids, so that sits like right on the line of your endometriosis. So you guys have to look at this. I know I sound like I'm all medical termed up, right? You bleed like a hog. That's such like an old school term. So literally to the point when I was like, I stand up, the blood was just gush. It will be puddles, literally, of blood on the ground, on my sheets. And if you didn't catch it, regular pads wasn't going to do it. And if you didn't catch it at the time, you had to like pretty much run to the bathroom like hell. So I was ruining a lot of sheets. Always my husband had to clean up my blood, and I was so embarrassed. Yeah, I've been knowing my husband since we was teenagers, but when it gets to you bleeding out of control, that's embarrassing, and that wreaks havoc on your marriage, on your self-esteem, on your confidence. You got to schedule everything around that, because you're like, I'm going through 10 pads within like an hour, like literally. So I got smart, and my husband's like, don't show them. I had to get some Depends for my period. I'm not even got no shame, y'all. So if you are a lady out there and you're suffering with fibroids or very heavy periods, which you need to check into if it's see if it's fibroids or not, go get you some Depends. I got these from CVS, $11.99. I have no shame in my game, because the thickest pads wasn't doing the job. I was bleeding through those. And if I have a client, or if I gotta go teach a workshop, or do business for other people, I couldn't do it, because I couldn't throw on regular pants and be like, yep, I'm gonna go teach this dope workshop or do a speaking engagement, and I'm bleeding like a hog. So these saved my life. They continue to save my life, because I'm getting my fibroid surgery tomorrow, and I'm on my period. It seemed like at the end of the month, it's never failing. I'm on my period. So at first they diagnosed me with two fibroids, but my Dr. Brown, he actually did a MRI and they found one big one, like I said, the submucous fibroid. So I think I shrunk the other one because I was like hardcore cut out coffee, sugar, meat, for like the first 3 months when I was diagnosed with fibroids. And before Dr. Brown, admitted me. So I was hardcore. So I think I shrunk that one. But I'm still kind of hard. I was working out 6 days a week. I stopped working out this week. My mom came into town. I'm in the process of moving as well, people. Like I'm going through it. So my mom came into town. So I was like, okay, this week I'm gonna rest. And when you're going through laparoscopic myomectomy, that's the surgery I'm going through tomorrow. I was like, I'm just gonna spend time just focusing on myself, calming down. And I had to go to Boston a few times. I had to talk to the anesthesiologist team. It's a process when you go through the surgery. I never been put to sleep before. Like the most I had stitches when I was like 5 years old. I had like my wisdom teeth pulled out, but I wasn't put to sleep. And I had another procedure in which they just did Novocaine or they numbed the area, but I never was put to sleep. So that was my concern. That I'm still a little nervous about that because, people's like, oh, it's going to be fine. You're going to get put to sleep, whatever the case is. So we'll see how things go. I'm glad my mom came up because yes, I'm 34 years old. Yes, I have a husband, but there's nothing like having your mom there to be like, it's gonna be okay. Like I got you, like God got you, and her friends are, pouring in much love, and my friends, which is only like a few, they are. I've been getting a lot of love and positive energy from them, and I feel very positive about the surgery. Even Dr. Brown is like, it's okay, girl. Like I got you. And that's what I like about him because he's very personable and he's not like, oh, well, you're going to be okay. Like he was very like calming and soothing, like it's going to be fine, and was telling me about the stats and things like that. But I just wanted to just jump on here and just share my story about my fibroids and to let women know, like, if you're going through it, don't be afraid to get the surgery, or if you can shrink them, check out, Queen Afua. I bought two of her books, The Sacred Woman, and also I also bought Dealing with an Angry Vagina. And I can say the Angry Vagina book was pretty on point because your vagina, your reproductive health says a lot about you. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm eating a terrible diet and I'm a vegetarian, I'm this. You can have like the bombest diet. You can do all these dope things for your health and wellness. But if you are surrounding yourself with toxic people, toxic products, toxic environment, you're under a tremendous amount of stress. You are just beating yourself up. You're internalizing things and you're like, oh, everything's okay. Or you're angry, which that turns into depression and worry. You're going to have a lot of issues, a lot of chronic illnesses if you don't work that out. And that's coming from the holistic piece, that's coming from the therapist in me, and that's coming from the coaching, right? So I want you ladies to really, check out this video. And if you're dealing with any type of symptoms I mentioned, hair loss, dry skin, unexplained weight gain, heavy periods, even miscarriages, you can't conceive, because my husband and I have been trying, you can't conceive, let's see what else. A lot of pressure. If you guys got to go to the bathroom, and I used to like have to go to the bathroom a lot. Get that checked out, and don't just deal with one answer. Don't have someone say, "Oh, you'll be fine. Get over it. It's only your head." You know your body. You've been in your body X amount of years. I've been in my body 34 years, and like I said, I've always been this slim, athletic girl. And once my body started getting crazy and I seen the weight gain and all that stuff, I wasn't just going to accept that. And it wreaks havoc on your self-esteem. It wreaks havoc on your confidence and your love life and how you do things. And I mean, I run 2 businesses, and I'm married, and I'm a daughter, and I'm all these amazing things, but you can't be all these amazing things when your health is pretty much compromised. So don't put yourself on the back burner. Push yourself first. Push yourself, put yourself in your health and everything else before anything else. That's cool, you're making money. That's cool, you look good on the outside, but a lot of us are suffering on the inside just with these little tiny fibroids. So I just wanted to tell you guys that much love and light to you guys. Tomorrow is my surgery date, so I will definitely be once I get better, after I recover, I'll do another video, part 1 on my surgery. Well, this is part 1. I'll do a part 2, and I'll do, like, a part 3, like, post the surgery date, just to give some encouragement to those who may be dealing with the same thing. So much love and light to you guys. Peace.